Good afternoon. It's the Pit Stop Look Back Show, where we look back at the racing that happened last weekend. Of course, NASCAR was underway at New Hampshire last weekend as the Truck Series in the morning, and then, of course, the Cup Series on Saturday morning, and then the Cup Series on Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning, our time, 11 o'clock, happening there. Lots in line here with the playoffs going. And the Xfinity Series was off this weekend. Of course, IndyCar season's over and all of that stuff, leaving us to some dirt racing wrapping up here around this area. Central Arizona Speedway wrapping up their season in the next month or so down there on the dirt side. But NASCAR underway on the playoffs. And look at basically New Hampshire. I thought it was fun racing. Not for the Truck Series. It was just Corey Heim. I told you guys in the Look Ahead show last week, Corey Heim's going to win this race. He's going to continue his domination. He did get that 9th win. And then in terms of the Cup Series, domination by the Fords last weekend. Thought Toyotas might have it. I was shocked at how bad the Toyotas overall looked there in New Hampshire. The Penske's shouldn't shock you. Penske's doing what they do on these short tracks. There'll be a different tire coming up here at Phoenix. But on these short tracks, these guys run. These guys have success. The Fords do, specifically Team Penske. And look, they stepped up and won. I had Christopher Bell winning this race. He was the top finishing Toyota in 6th place, but not able to get there on the Toyota side of things. This might be a preview if a couple Team Penske's and the Fords get into the Final Four. And, of course, if the, against a Toyota or maybe a Chevrolet, because Chevrolets look good finally in this playoffs here this weekend as well. But I thought it was fun, even though there was some domination, obviously, some teammate drama that happened on the Toyota side, Joe Gibbs Racing. We'll address that here today as well. Obviously, we record this before Actions Detrimental by Denny Hamlin, and he does his side. Denny did try to walk it back a little bit after the race in terms of, he said he made the mistake, and then then attacked Ty Gibbs. And I don't get... My synopsis is this: why is a guy outside the playoffs racing his teammate who's competing for a playoff and moving forward? The 3 drivers in the playoffs for Joe Gibbs Racing won in the first 3 weeks of the season, in the first round, right? Every week was a Joe Gibbs Racing. Why is Denny Hamlin being raced by a non-playoff driver? Is kind of the question that I got. Of course, grandson to the owner, Joe Gibbs, as well. But before we get into that Cup and get into all that controversy out there, we look back to Saturday morning race, 9 a.m. A green flag here in Arizona for the truck race there in New Hampshire. And shocker, I told you in the look ahead show last week, well, Corey Heim is going to win this race. And Corey Heim goes out there and dominates and wins the race. It's his 9th season win this year, which means he does basically tie. He does tie Greg Biffle back in 1999, getting the 9th win of that. So one more win. He's got 4 more races to go, I believe it is, in the Truck Series to beat Greg Biffle's right now the record that he has tied out there, right? Obviously, won the pole, Corey Heim did, all the way to the checkered flag as well. Led 124 of the 175 laps at this race here at New Hampshire. How dominant was Corey Heim? Well, he also got the fastest lap of the day as well. He won both stages in this race. Yeah. He's had 2 wins here in the first round of the playoffs. Of course, this was an elimination race as well, but gets 2 of the 3 wins. Corey Heim doing what we expect Corey Heim to do and dominating these racetracks. Obviously, Lane Riggs being the other Truck Series driver to get the win here in the first round of the playoffs for them. So really the competition here is who's going to go below the cut line in terms of the elimination side. Well, one of the guys on the outside looking in coming to this race was Chandler Smith. And he needed to probably win this race to get to compete and move on here in this race. He was, 24 points, I believe, on the backside. You know, it's hard to get points when Corey Heim dominates the race with that 124 of 175 laps. Other guys that led here in this race, Andres Perez de Lara, he led 47 laps here in this race. Raja Caruth led 4 as well, and that's it. So when you need points, you need to lead some laps. He did get some stage points in this, Chandler Smith did. Finished second in this race, but he was so far behind with the way everybody else was running. Chandler Smith is below the cut line and does get eliminated. He missed it by 10 points here. But noble effort, second place win. And look, he wasn't close to winning this race either. It wasn't he was battling it till the end and some bad luck. He just couldn't get there. 10 points from the cut line. Chandler Smith out of the Truck Series playoffs now. Jake Garcia, I told you, unless Jake Garcia won, which I didn't see happening, he was going to be eliminated in this round as well. Lucky to get in. By the way, Stuart Friesen, didn't do his waiver, which got Jake Garcia into these playoffs. Stuart Friesen was back at the racetrack this weekend. Said he's eyeing Daytona coming up to get back into the Truck Series race car as well. But Jake Garcia had a 16th point finish here, also below the cut line in terms of the other playoff drivers that matter out there. So Corey Heim, Chandler Smith was second, obviously not enough to advance, but there Lane Riggs finished third as well. Then you had Gio Ruggiero there in the fourth spot, Ty Majeski in fifth, Grant Effinger there in sixth, Caden Honeycutt in seventh place in terms of playoff drivers here. Roger Caruth finished 10th, Tyler Ankrum in 11th, Daniel Hemrick in 12th in terms of the playoff drivers here. Patrick. So those were the playoff drivers. Jake Garcia, Chandler Smith eliminated here in this cut line here. But look, you got to give valiant effort here for Chandler Smith. Trying to get there, almost gets there to the point where he's able to advance, and that's a heck of an effort for a team that struggled, throughout this race. So kind of setting the stage there. Now let's go to the tape, right? Fox for the Truck Series. In this, let's go to the checkered flag here. See Corey Heim win this thing. Truck 1.
Flag is in the air. Final lap. Greg Biffle won 9 races back in 1999. Most wins in a season. Corey Heim wasn't even born.
Hello, Greg.
What a day it's been for Corey Heim. He's led 123 laps. It's just been a magical season. As he comes off of turn number 4, Corey Heim gets it done. He wins at New Hampshire. He ties the all-time wins record at 9.
124 laps there with the checkered flag there. Dominating effort by Corey Heim. What you expect from Corey Heim, and he goes out there and does it. 2 wins in the first round, elimination round. Chandler Smith, Jake Garcia eliminated from the playoffs. Now it gets interesting in the Truck Series. We'll talk about their playoffs coming up here. But first, Chandler Smith finished second in this race, made a noble effort to get to the cut line and move on, kind of push Raja Caruth down. And as I said, Raja Caruth had a good finish here in this race for him there. And he finished, if I remember correctly here, he finished 10th. Raja Caruth did. So it was going to be, that's the problem with getting to that point there. Chandler Smith, Chandler Smith, they talked to him after the race. He just kind of thought of got his thoughts here after being eliminated from the playoffs.
Just a lot of bad luck, but honestly, I'm a faithful guy, and I've been praying about it, and my prayer's been specific for the Lord's will, and obviously it wasn't in his will for us to advance to the next round, honestly. So super grateful for this group of guys that we were able to assemble on this 38 team. I huddled together before the race. We prayed together, let them know that this doesn't define us no matter what the outcome is. I'm proud of each and every one of them, the effort they put in on this truck throughout the week.
Look, it's a Chandler Smith eliminated. You can see the disappointment, kind of resigned to that disappointment as well for him. But Chandler Smith, they're eliminated from the playoffs here. So Truck Series, look, it's Corey Heim's playoffs to win or not. Can, Lane Riggs do something and win? Ty Majeski, as it goes on, does his championship, past come back as he's defending champion here? Does he able to get wins? Those are basically the 3 guys that I'm paying attention to here in the Truck Series that have a chance to win a championship. But it's Corey Heim's to lose as well. So Truck Series, round of 8 here coming up, playoff points. and where we stand. They have an off week this week, a couple of weeks. October 3rd, Friday, October 3rd is the next Truck Series race. Charlotte Roval, so they get this week off here in Kansas. Here, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 12:30 p.m. Phoenix. Of course, we'll look at that at a look-ahead show here next week as well. But Truck Series has some time off. Going into the round of 8, and two drivers were eliminated in this round. Now it gets a little bit harder. 4 drivers will be eliminated here coming up in this round here to leave us with the final 4 races to go in the Truck Series. Let's throw up those playoff points here for the Truck Series. Obviously, Corey Heim, Lane Riggs are 1 and 2 here between these guys. Now, of course, this is round of 8 here as well, but they are sitting there. They're dominant. Corey Heim should win this championship. Can Lane Riggs get him? Ty Majeski there in the 3rd spot. Daniel Hemrick, Grant Effinger, Tyler Ankrum, Caden Honeycutt, and then Roger Carruth there in the 8th spot here after the race there. As I said, Chandler Smith, 10 points behind here to move on with his run there. So now 4 drivers are going to be cut here in this round. Caden Honeycutt is actually in the final spot here in the 8th spot under the cut line. Roger Carruth is in the 7th spot underneath the cut line. Grant Effinger in the 6th spot, and then Tyler Ankrum there in the 5th spot. 3 Chevys and a Toyota, Caden Honeycutt's Toyota, are all below the cut line. 4 drivers get eliminated here in this round after these next 3 races. Corey Heim, Lane Riggs, Daniel Hemrick, and then Ty Majeski are the guys out on the other side of that cut line right now and looking forward to it. You can see there Tyler Ankrum and Ty Majeski tied. Daniel Hemrick only a 1-point lead for him coming into this side. Races reset as well. So who's going to win here in this round to guarantee their spot? If you're on the outside, Caden Honeycutt, Roger Carruth, Grant Effinger, or Tyler Ankrum, you got to win. Got to win to guarantee the spot. 2 Fords on that top side. Are they going to kind of work together a little bit to try to get the Fords moved on to the championship round here in Phoenix as well? This is going to be fun here. As you see, these points are kind of there. Now, like I said, favorites are Corey Heim and Lane Riggs. Period. End of story. Maybe Ty Majeski can do something. I don't know. Maybe we're hoping a past champion can conjure something to get there and things to that. So 4 drivers eliminated. The off week here in Kansas for Xfinity gets back underway this week. And then Cup Series, of course, at Kansas as well. Off week for them. Charlotte Roval is the next here coming up for the Truck Series. Truck Series news that we know is out there. Lane Riggs used the words planning on as his quote unquote. He's planning on returning to front row in 2026 for him as well. So no commitment there. He doesn't feel like he's quite ready to make the leap to the NASCAR Cup Series full time, but he feels like it could be soon for Lane Riggs is what he's talking about. So he says, quote, I do feel like I need at least another year in trucks or Xfinity, whatever the path is. But I'm planning on running the 34 truck again next year as of now. So yeah, I feel like I just need a little bit more time. I'd like to make some cup starts, do some part-time stuff with the team, kind of working on stuff right now for next year. Hopefully, nothing's done yet or even really talks. That's the goal, to try to branch out, make some starts next year, either Xfinity or in Cup. That's a guy that's had some success here, obviously, in the Truck Series. He's ready for his next step up. Seems like a guy that, talking his way into being non-committal, I guess, on that truck side of things coming up for him. But that's the news around the Truck Series. With the off week coming up here, it's going to be fun here with the guys to see who can move on to the championship race. Is there an upset? Corey Heim, Lane Riggs. Did anybody get upset in this round and knocked out? I don't think so, but we'll have to wait and see what comes up for those guys as we continue looking at this Truck Series. And when we come back here, boy, oh boy, this is our look back show. We do later on in the week, Wednesday or Thursday, we do a look ahead show, which will be for Kansas this week, Xfinity and Cup. So we focus on what happened last weekend, and of course, controversy between teammates of Joe Gibbs Racing last weekend. Of course, at New Hampshire. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the race as well. Team Penske in the Fords. I said last week's Look Ahead show, can Team Penske and those Fords do something? Watch out for them. But I didn't pull the trigger on them at all. I did say Ryan Blaney would be the guy to pay attention to. We'll keep it rolling here. Come on back. Talk Cup at the pit stop. And we're back here at the pit stop. Just got done in our look back show where we look back at the racing over the weekend. Of course, recording this on a Monday after getting the thoughts there of the truck race there in New Hampshire and Cup Series race as well. Truck eliminating in the playoffs, our first round eliminations, I should say. Off this week coming up. We get Xfinity back this week at Kansas and the Cup side. But before we get into that, follow us at the Pit Stop Talk on, of course, X, social media, and Facebook as well. If you do follow us there, we thank you very much. But also, you'll see a link to the free podcast of this show. Of course, on Podbean only right now. We had to redo some graphics and things to fit the standards. Going to get it pushed back out to all the major, podcast systems. Coming up, we'll announce to you when we get that done. But that is up right now, the free podcast of Pit Stop. You'll see the link there. Go to Podbean and just search at the Pit Stop Talk, and it'll come right up for you as well there. And, of course, on our free YouTube channel for On Demand. If you're watching us here on demand at Robat TV, thank you very much. And it's free for people as well, non-subscribers and free for people on the YouTube channel as well. Catch us there in the show. We appreciate you finding us. Haven't done any major promotion, just here on the shows mentioning that YouTube page, but it's out there, and we appreciate those of you that have found us and listen there or on the free podcast as well. And, of course, thanks to everybody with your Robat subscription, catching us there as well. It does mean a lot to us right now. And on the YouTube page, on the free podcast system, you can see the main event. You can see McCollum on Business. All of my shows there for you now, and I appreciate the support from everybody that does so. And in the Cup Series, New Hampshire, Team Penske dominated this race. Ryan Blaney gets the win. He basically dominated the last, 39 laps roughly. He did lead 116 of the 301 laps for him. Joey Logano led a ton of laps himself. 147 laps for Joey Logano as well. So more than half, obviously, of the laps led here by Team Penske and those two specific drivers. Josh Berry, kind of a quote-unquote teammate of the Penske boys, finishes second in this race and did lead 10 laps for him as well. So obviously Blaney with the win moves on to the round of 8 and gets his guaranteed spot here in the next round coming up here on the Cup Series. I thought this was a fun race to watch. A lot of movement. Kyle Larson, was fighting for the lead there for a while, and then Joey Logano would take it back from him. And it was just, competitive while not being competitive, if that makes sense of what you saw there. Only 8 caution flags for 45 laps in this race. Of course, the big one that happened here in this race where a bunch of cars got mixed up into it. The Ty Gibbs incident with his teammate Denny Hamlin. We'll talk about that coming up as well. John Hunter Nemechek hitting the wall. It was 8 laps, 8 cautions here, 14 lead changes among 7 drivers. It was a lot of those with just Joey Logano moving back and forth at that point. Now, it's important because Joey Logano came into this round of the playoffs outside looking in. He was outside that cut line. So he needed some good runs here as well, if not to win this race here going on this weekend. So before we get into that, let's look at how Ryan Blaney won this race and pay attention to the second place car, Josh Berry, here in this run. Josh Berry spun early in this race, was able to recover for him, of course, eliminated from the playoffs last round here, but Cup 1, checker flag lap.
Are we watching the beginning of a championship campaign for Ryan Blaney to become a 2-time NASCAR Cup Series champ? It sure looks like it today. From practice to the front row to victory lane, Ryan Blaney wins in New Hampshire for the first time.
Hell yeah, fellas. God, I'm exhausted. Thank you, guys. What a weekend, man. Congratulations. Thanks, guys.
Gets it done there and moves on to the round of 8. Just domination, just Josh Berry, in the rearview mirror by a lot, coming around from that as well. And, you didn't even hear a ton of excitement. It was just like, all right, we're exhausted. We won it. Congratulations. Let's move on from that point. As I told you, other drivers to pay attention to, Chevrolets, who've had a terrible start to these playoffs here in the first 3 races, actually performed pretty well here at New Hampshire on that short track as well for them. William Byron finished 3rd. Now, of course, playoff driver Chase Elliott finished 5th as a playoff driver as well. Kyle Larson finished 7th there for Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets here on this side. So you saw some improvement on Chevrolet here on this small course, which does help them, obviously, get some points and move forward in these playoffs as well. Joey Logano was on the outside looking in of this race because and he got to the positive side, and we'll show you that here coming up. But Joey Logano won the pole, led the most laps, 147 of them, as I said, finished in 4th place there for Joey Logano with that team Penske as well. The biggest Toyota finisher, I told you earlier in the show, Christopher Bell. It was my pick to repeat win as well. Look, he ran well, but the Toyotas were shockingly bad here on this short course, which I don't know. You can kind of extrapolate this out to Phoenix and how these guys ran. Other playoff drivers and what we're looking at here, of course, Ross Chastain in his Chevrolet finished 9th. Chase Briscoe there in 10th is the second Toyota driver for him. Then Denny Hamlin there in 12th. Obviously, Chase Briscoe's teammate and winner in the first round. Austin Cindric there in 17th place. Tyler Reddick there in 21st. And then his teammate Bubba Wallace finished 26th in terms of playoff drivers here. Ty Gibbs, of course, out in lap 134 in an accident. John Hunter Nemechek out in this race with an accident. Those are kind of the caution flags. Daniel Suarez out 117th lap with that accident. So kind of where the cautions came from and what we were looking at there. But the 2311 guys not running well on this short circuit either. So I don't know if you can, like I said, you can extrapolate this out to the Phoenix race here coming up on the championship. And let's do that for just a second before we get to the controversy between teammates here as well. So what you can kind of take away from New Hampshire as a short track is they run the short track aero package with the same tire as Phoenix. It's a 1 mile, it's a 1 mile racetrack. And the Penske cars dominated this race. Ryan Blaney's won a championship at Phoenix. Joey Logano's won a championship at Phoenix. And they won them kind of in dominant fashion as well. For those 2 Team Penske drivers. They have these short tracks, these flat tracks down and being good at that point. Now, not just were they fast and how dominant they were here as we look ahead, if they can get to the Final 4, but the shocker here was Hendrick Motorsports just struggled here in this first round of the playoffs. And then they look good on this racetrack as well, right? They performed. And this is one of their worst tracks that the Hendrick guys perform at. We gave you all those stats in the Look Ahead show last week. I said Chevrolets have no chance at this racetrack to win it. They finish in the back. They're terrible here, etc. They ran really, really well in this side. The shocker to me, though, was how Toyota ran, especially how they ran in the first 3 races of the playoffs. They obviously won, 3 of them. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, Christopher Bell. Christopher Bell was the only one that finished on that top at 6. So something to think about here as we head into, the final races here, who the Final 4 is going to be. Something to pay attention to as we get closer to that Final 4 and who makes it into that when we make our championship picks. Just something struck me a little interesting, with how they ran at that point. So obviously, there's ups and downs, there's waves, guys struggle. We've seen Toyotas struggle like here on the short tracks here at Phoenix and still get the win, speaking of Christopher Bell. And then we've seen other guys struggle and not get the wins, a la the Chevrolets as well. So it ebbs and flows. It's all about the setups, but that was some race to pay attention to based off of the championship coming up here as well. Then the big news, of course, last weekend, gotta love some controversy out there. Joe Gibbs Racing has 4 cars. 3 of them are in the playoffs. Chase Briscoe, Denny Hamlin, and Christopher Bell. 1 is not. That's the grandson of the Company owner Joe Gibbs, Ty Gibbs out there. And the running around the top here of this racetrack, Ty Gibbs trying to stay on the lead lap, Ty Gibbs trying not to get past at this point in the race, and he's racing his teammate, Denny Hamlin, as they go around. Well, let's just show you the broadcast version of what happened here between Hamlin and Ty Gibbs. This will be Cup number 2.
One another. Oh, here we go. Yep. Oh, yeah.
The 11 is Denny Hamlin,
boy.
54 is
Yes,
Ty
sir.
Gibbs.
Gibbs goes around.
Yellow's out.
Off the front end of Hamlin.
Pretty simple. We'll go ahead and play it again for those of you that didn't catch what happened here. I blame Ty Gibbs for this. Racing Denny Hamlin, not getting out of his way, letting his teammate go ahead, slowing down in front of him as well. And I got another angle here coming up. But let's look at that again here as we go through it.
Here we go. Yep. Oh, yeah.
You know, Ty Gibbs comes down,
boy.
slows down,
Yes,
lifts
Gibbs
a little
goes
bit,
around.
and Denny Hamlin just
Yellow's
spins.
out.
The sign
the
of a good
front end of
race car
Hamlin.
driver, by the way, is a race car driver that can move somebody out of the way without wrecking themselves. Denny Hamlin is king at doing that. And you saw it right there. Then you go to the radios, and Ty Gibbs says, "We'll get him. Game on," is what he was saying. Denny Hamlin's going, "What's he doing racing me right now? We're trying to win a championship." That's kind of the in-radio stuff that's happening, as they try to figure this out. Now, this is on the racetrack as well, right? Here's the in-car of the incident as well. NASCAR does a fantastic job doing in-car stuff that is putting it together. You can look at the in-cars while the races are going on, the packages they got there. And NASCAR does a fabulous job in terms of not just the right turning left and going fast, but the strategy happening, what's happening inside of the cars. Here it is, Cup 3, in-car of that incident. To me, just get out of his way. Yeah, you don't want to get past. Yeah, you want to stay there. Yeah, you don't want him going by you. But this is a team game also, and you have a driver trying to get to the playoffs. Lock the guy behind you, Ty. And he doesn't, right? Ty's not happy about this at all. As I said on the radio, he said, "Game on. Get him next time." Well, here's Ty Gibbs after he gets out of the care center. You have to go to the care center when you wreck there in NASCAR. Gets out of the care center. Bob Pockris, a bunch of media is there as well to talk to Ty Gibbs, and here's the video they captured.
Yeah, but we got wrecked there, so we'll go see him next week.
I just don't. You're the guy out of the playoffs. You have to know where you are. You have to know what the situation is. Now saying, "Oh, we'll see you next week," implying he's going to do something. Joe Gibbs racing his teammates. They had strategy meetings on Monday morning. They've been together this morning already. I haven't seen any fights or anything come out of that story. Love to be a fly on a wall in that situation there. Joe Gibbs racing here this morning. I don't get what Ty Gibbs is doing there and then talking that way on top of it. And I agree more with what Denny Hamlin said. And keep in mind, for those of you that aren't familiar with this program, I am not a Denny Hamlin fan at all. I think he loves being the bad guy. I think he likes that attitude. I don't have a problem with that. It's just when things happen to him, I just think he cries a little too much when things happen to him. And then he does stuff like he did to Ty Gibbs there. And he's like, get over it. Get out of my way, whatever. And then if that happens to him, he's the opposite. And it drives me a little bit nuts that he does that type of stuff, right? But he's an all-time talent in this league. And then you got the 23-11, Joe Gibbs racing stuff that kind of bothers me a little bit about Denny Hamlin as well, right? But Denny Hamlin makes a very good point here, and he puts it more succinct than I was putting it yesterday when this incident went down. After the race, Denny Hamlin talks about the incident, a big swarm around his car, obviously, as people are trying to talk to him and interview him about this incident. Not about how he finished the race, but about this incident out there. This is Cup number 5.
We made contact in a 1. It was like a 4th or 5th time we made contact, but eventually ended up getting spun.
Would you have felt that, would you have done the same thing if it wasn't a teammate, or how would you feel like it would have been different if you weren't teammates?
Well, I made a mistake in a turn one, so yeah, I would have made a mistake with anybody in that position.
So what's the out of the way?
I was trying to get by him. that was a task in itself.
What's the discussion that needs to happen, or if any, with Ty or between you or somebody else?
Yeah, I'll let leadership kind of, quarterback it however they'd like to. But obviously, us, the 2019, are all trying to win a championship for their family. So it's crazy, unfortunate why we're racing the way we are.
I agree with that last part 1,000%. I see a lot of people saying Denny Hamlin doing Denny Hamlin things. I see a lot of people taking Ty Gibbs' side on it. The bottom line comes down to this. You're not in the playoffs. You were hindering him. You were racing him. You heard that. They made contact multiple times before that happens. Get out of his way. Race the guy behind him that way. I don't understand what he was doing. Denny Hamlin, he's an owner as well, right? With 2311, part owner there with Michael Jordan. He said, I'll let leadership handle it. What's Ty Gibbs doing? What's he going to continue with that? Is Ty Gibbs thinking about wrecking Denny Hamlin on a racetrack and cost him the next round of the playoffs? That hurts the team more than it is, just as much as it hurts Denny Hamlin. Hurts the team as a whole if you eliminate the guys from there and another person does it. Now, I get it. Ty Gibbs obviously can be a little bit mad. He got wrecked, period. But what are you doing in that situation? I don't get it. It baffles my mind. That's probably one of the few times I've agreed with Denny Hamlin with what he said after a race, to be honest with you. And cool, calm, collected as well for him. None of that, whiny, whatever. He just said, I'm trying to pass him. Why am I racing him? Why am I racing my teammate? Fantastic there. And then Bob Pockris catches up with Joe Gibbs, the, of course, leader of Joe Gibbs Racing, Ty Gibbs' grandfather, owner of the team as well, racing for a championship. 3 drivers in this championship. He's got 3 of 12 odds, whatever that math is, to get a championship again this year. Get a championship this year, as long as his grandson doesn't mess it up. After the race, I also like what Joe Gibbs says here as well. I suspect there's going to be a little bit more hands-on, a little bit more, there'll be some grace here, but listen to what he says. But I think there's going to be some grace here in terms of letting Ty kind of talk about it with Denny Hamlin. And then there's going to be a step in of you better not retaliate at all. It's got to come down from that leadership to Ty in private separately at that point, right? Here's Joe Gibbs after the race talking about the incident.
It's always the drivers that have to handle that. They're the ones that got the wheel. And so I think that's always the case. So that's what we'll do.
Do you have to step in at all?
No, I think those guys all are the ones driving the cars. And so we'll kind of those guys will get together on their own and figure it out.
Were you upset over the incident itself, or did you view it as just one of the racing thing?
I think it's hard for me. Okay, it's not me; it's the drivers. So that's the way I've always looked at this. So.
He's doing the right thing as the owner of the team. Look, it's the drivers. He's saying that publicly. There's no way you can convince me that Joe Gibbs is there today. He's going to let Ty hash it out with him. He's going to have Ty and Denny talk. Absolutely. And then let him handle it. And then you pull the non-playoff driver aside and say, knock it off. You have to. You can't let a driver possibly do something stupid on a racetrack and cost you playoff position, playoff points, etc. going forward. I do like the way Gibbs handled that right there in that spot. And it's the drivers and the wheel. 100% correct, but it's also a team championship. Whoever wins the championship, the team wins the championship as well. Then you got the championship, the owner's championship going on as well, where you get more money behind the scenes than you do on the driver's side. So I like what they're saying publicly. I don't believe it I don't believe that that's what they're going to do on the backside. Joe Gibbs is going to lean back and like the Sunday dinner, right? And go, hey, Ty, let the playoff guys drive. Get them back later. So controversy, God, you got to love controversy there between teammates, especially with two drivers that kind of hot heads a little bit, Denny Hamlin and Ty Gibbs. Ty Gibbs is kind of he's the nicest kid on the planet, but a little bit spoiled, right? And where he's been in his career and everything, and kind of the "don't do this to me" attitude. And I can understand he probably has that with Denny Hamlin a little bit as well, with where they stand with the relationship inside of NASCAR and stuff to that effect. It's gonna be fun to watch though and see what happens. Is there more fallout? Trust me, I've been all over the feeds today to see. If there was any fallout today, anybody else said anything? Nothing that I see as of yet. Checked all those media. Dustin Long that you saw in that video with Coach Gibbs walking. A lot of media around NASCAR, with NBC, front stretch. Matt Weaver was there, of course, and things to that effect. And it's just, I cannot believe they're just going to leave it to Ty Gibbs to handle this. But we'll find out. We'll watch a payout coming up here as well. So let's get into the playoff points here. Cup 7, let's go ahead and throw that up here. Race 1 in the bag, which means Ryan Blaney winning this round of 12. First race means he moves on to the next round of the playoffs for Ryan Blaney. 2 more races, Kansas this weekend. We'll look at that here with our look-ahead show coming up on Wednesday of this week. But Ryan Blaney, their round of 12 winner, advances to the round of 8 for him. William Byron's there in that next spot for him. Kyle Larson's in that next spot. I don't know why that's superimposed, but Kyle Larson's up next. Then William Byron, both teammates there and Chevrolet drivers at that point. Then Christopher Bell, Joe Gibbs Racing driver as well, in that 4th spot for him. Then you got Denny Hamlin there with 27 points to the positive there as well in that 5th spot. Joey Logano moves up here, right? He was 1 spot below that cut line. And he does move up here at this race. With his run, he's 24 points to the positive. Now for him, if my math's correct, Joey Logano, I don't know why the numbers are all messed up here. And then Chase Elliott. I told you to keep your eye on Chase Elliott here in this round. I don't think Chase Elliott's going to get knocked off here. He can point his way on unless something bad happens. And he had a good race here as well, right? In terms of how he finished here in this race and everything. The question that I'm wondering here for Chase Elliott, I told you to watch him. He could be a surprise out here. Just one bad race with the way he's running could knock him out. So it's something to pay attention to. Of course, he finished 5th here in this race. Coming up with Kansas and the Charlotte Roval coming up next. Chase Briscoe, the other Joe Gibbs Racing car, 12 points to the positive side. So, guys, outside after this race, Ross Chastain, Austin Cindric, Tyler Reddick, and then Bubba Wallace, those two 23-11 drivers, they're in those final 2 spots. I'm going to go ahead and make the prediction right now. Unless one of these 2 guys win the races, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, those 23-11 cars are going to be eliminated in this round. I told you before, I was pretty sure Tyler Reddick was going to be. Bubba Wallace was, in that last spot before the cut line. Well, Bubba Wallace now has gone down so far with a terrible race here in New Hampshire. Now, doesn't mean anything. Charlotte Roval's coming up. Kansas this weekend. They can make some moves. I just think those 2 drivers, 23-11, running as independent teams right now with this lawsuit going on, I just think it takes the toll as the season goes on. Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, I think they can still point their way on the other side of things. Chase Elliott, like I said, just somebody we're watching here in this round. I think he does advance as of now, but, one bad race, he could switch with one of those 2 guys. Austin Cindric, Ross Chastain, Tyler Reddick, Bubba Wallace, they're not winning Kansas. It just comes down to the points at that point. Can they win the Charlotte Roval? I guess anybody can, but probably not. You've got non-playoff guys, SVG, that could win that race. It'll be interesting to see here coming up, but we might see our playoff here for the round of 8. We might see the top guys here. We might see them move on at that point with those guys underneath. So reset the playoff points for you after New Hampshire as well. Coming up next, we'll do our look-ahead show here on the Pit Stop. Coming up Wednesday here, Robat TV on demand, YouTube on demand, free podcast there at Podbean, at the Pit Stop Talk as well coming up. On Wednesday of this week, we look ahead to Kansas Raceway, Xfinity Series and Cup Series this weekend. Truck Series is off. They don't get back underway until Friday night of the Charlotte Roval. That'll be October 3rd for them. So we'll get you set up on where we stand on the Xfinity Series coming up on the Wednesday show, where we are looking back with their off week. You probably forgot where they stand and what race they're in the playoffs, etc. They've only had the one race here in the playoffs for the Xfinity side. Then, of course, Cup Series coming up in race 2 of this round of 12. Who gets the win at Kansas? We'll talk about all that. Set you up for Kansas as well. Coming up this weekend, any news that hits this week as well. So join us for the Look Ahead show. Of course, appreciate you joining us for this Look Back show on the New Hampshire Raceway. If you disagree with anything, hit me up in the comments. DM me. Hit me up in the comments as well. Text us, the 623-252-6670. That's the show text line that we use here. Comes right to our phones and computers. At the Pit Stop Talk, folks. We'll see you later in the week for the Look Ahead show. Appreciate you.